Failed by the M.O.D, how the deaths of 10 servicemen might have been prevented.
Each and every single one of those men were heroes, but they were let down.
The coroner today criticised the Ministry of Defence, saying the men were the victims of serious systemic failure. He said a simple safety feature could have saved their lives. Also on News at 10, closer to a cure, how an old drug is offering new hope to multiple sclerosis sufferers.
Plus, I'm in Birmingham tonight to see the impact of Britain's struggling economy. As for the first time, Gordon Brown admits what everyone else had guessed. We're heading for a recession.
Good evening. The terrible death toll when an RAF Hercules was shot at by Al-Qaeda in Iraq was, a coroner ruled today, in part the result of M.O.D failure. These 10 men lost their lives 3 years ago when their plane was hit by small arms fire and a fuel tank exploded, blowing off one of the wings. If only, the coroner said, the fuel tanks had been fitted with special explosion suppressant foam, then they could have survived being hit and landed safely. American Hercules aircraft had the foam fitted 40 years ago. The Inquest was told the M.O.D had ignored for decades recommendations that it be fitted in hours. From the Inquest, Helen Callahan reports.
Scattered across the scrubland north of Baghdad, the wreckage of Hercules XV179, brought down and subsequently filmed by insurgents. 10 of Britain's finest servicemen lost their lives. The crew, their families heard, not only the victims of war, but also of the serious systemic failures of their own side.
Negligence and failing, disappointment, there are no words that can express how I feel today towards the M.O.D, and I will be watching. My brother, I was proud of him, and each and every single one of those men were heroes, but they were let down by the whole organisation of which they believed in, whose principles they put forward.
Now these relatives know just how their loved ones were failed. On the 30th of January 2005, XV179, a Hercules similar to this one, left Baghdad carrying special forces. While flying low during daylight hours, a fuel tank was hit by insurgents' fire from the ground, causing an explosion which blew off the wing. This inquest heard that inside the tank, the volatile fuel vapour and air mix, known as ullage, ignited. But if explosive suppressant foam, or ESF, had filled that gap, the crew's lives could have been saved. Without safety foam, this is what happens when a plane's fuel tank is hit. With safety foam, as this US military video shows, there's no explosion. British Hercules did not have the foam, despite repeated requests for better protection from this former Hercules pilot and many others.
I spoke to my station commander, who told me that no money was available and that the crew would have to be shot down and killed to get some money. It was as though it was no point asking for the kit.
Nowadays, any Hercules leaving a British base like RAF Lynham is fitted with this protective foam. But according to the Ministry of Defence, that's only if it is routinely operational in Afghanistan or Iraq.
We cannot guarantee that things go right 100% of the time, all the time. But where we identify failures, the important thing is that we address them as quickly as possible, and we have done.
After the coroner's recommendation that all combat aircraft be fitted with fuel tank inerting systems, the families warned that the world will be watching to make sure that's done. Helen Callahan, News at 10, Trowbridge.
Scientists believe they have made a real breakthrough in treating multiple sclerosis. They think they can not only halt the development of the disease, but actually reverse its effects. The drug involved is not new, but the way they use it is. Our medical editor Lawrence McGinty reports on what scientists are describing as a drug that was in search of an illness.
Double vision and fatigue, just the fact of just sitting down and falling asleep. numbness in my right arm, side of my face dropped slightly. In fact, I thought that I was having a stroke with these symptoms that were happening to me. Slurring when I spoke, loss of balance, shakiness in my hands, and it was uncontrollable shaking.
Paula Rankin kept a diary of the symptoms of MS that were eating her life away. And then she volunteered for a trial of a drug that had been used to treat leukemia. Those trials showed it reduced the number of MS attacks by 74% and reduced disability by 71%.
I feel so well now, and after having the drug, I haven't had any new symptoms.
This anonymous-looking liquid is in fact the drug that's causing all the excitement amongst doctors treating patients with MS. And the reason they're so excited is that not only is it good at treating the symptoms of the disease, it seems to be the first drug that actually reverses the disease process.
Scans show the new treatment over 2 years stops the brain shrinking. In fact, measured closely, it grows by 5%.
Multiple sclerosis has subtle effects on everyday activities, running, walking, seeing, thinking, all of these things that you and I take for granted. And steadily, step by step, people who've had this treatment are finding that those everyday activities are easier.
The new drug isn't suitable for people with advanced forms of MS, but for patients like Christina Howard in the early stages, it offers hope. So much so that next week she's starting a new trial of the drug, even though she knows it has potential side effects, treatable but still serious.
Given the fact that my last scan results show that my MS has progressed, there's no telling how it would progress further in the future if it was going to. So what this treatment brings me is the hope that it can perhaps stabilise my future health.
It's not a cure, and it's early days, but alemtuzumab just might give patients like Christina a brighter future. Lawrence McGinty, News at 10.
And we'll be following Christina's progress as she takes part in that trial. Now, with the Prime Minister talking for the first time about a recession, Julie has arrived in Birmingham on her tour of some of the worst hit parts of Britain. Julie.
James, welcome to the Fort Dunlop in Birmingham. In 90 years, what was once the flagship factory of the mighty Dunlop tyre empire has experienced several recessions. Tyre production here finished in the 70s. Now it's home to a travel lodge, local newspapers, shops and offices. When Fort Dunlop opened in 1917 during the First World War, it was the biggest factory anywhere in the world. Its workers transported here by trams. Over the years, 82 Grand Prix have been won using tyres produced here. In its heyday in the 50s, 12,000 people worked here at the site. But then came foreign competition and recession. Boom and then bust. Today, the Prime Minister said there was a global recession that was likely to affect this country. Juliette Bremner reports now on Britain's return to recession.
It isn't easy for a politician, but the Prime Minister finally admitted what the rest of us guessed some time ago. We're in a recession. Listen carefully, though, or you'll miss the word.
Having taken action on the banking system, we must now take action on the global financial recession, which is likely to cause recession in America, France, Italy, Germany, Japan, and because no country can insulate itself from it, Britain too.
2 successive quarters of negative growth mean we're officially in recession. This year, the first quarter saw growth of just 0.4%. The second saw no growth at all. Figures expected on Friday will show the third quarter is negative and a final quarter slowdown